This video is going to demonstrate the technique of performing a slipper cast. And a slipper cast is unique in that it goes below the ankle, so the patient will still be able to move their ankle, which is nice. And the indications for a cast such as this would be for forefoot surgery, forefoot fractures. Basically, anytime you want to immobilize the osseous structures, usually distal to the tarsal metatarsal joint. So to begin the cast, what we need are a 3 or 4 inch stockinette. We need Webril, and then we need fiberglass. So very similar materials to a short leg cast. The main difference in what makes it easier to put on a slipper cast is we're going to be using 2-inch rolls of cast tape or fiberglass as compared to the 3 and 4 inch cast tape that we typically use for a short leg cast. So to get started, our first layer is going to be our stockinette, and it's going to be a shorter layer of stockinette naturally because we're just going above the ankle. But we do want to extend the stockinette proximal and distal to where our cast padding and our fiberglass are going to extend to. So I always make a little pleat in the stockinette just so that it doesn't create any wrinkles underneath the skin. And then again, we want to make sure that our stockinette extends a few inches or so past the ends of the toes. Next, we're going to be putting on the cast padding. And so the cast padding, the easiest way to put this on is to start behind the heel and essentially extending from the 5th digit to the 1st digit. And I like to rip these as we go. Just makes a cleaner application of your cast padding. So I'll typically do 2 or 3 layers of cast padding behind the heel, again, extending from the 5th digit all the way medially to the 1st digit. Once you have your cast padding applied posteriorly, then we can just wrap it circumferentially around the foot, like so, and we'll extend this again about to the level of the the dorsal aspect of the tail or neck area, right? But at this point, we still don't have the heel protected, so we're going to take our cast padding and we're going to tear a few layers underneath the heel so that the heel has a couple layers of padding as well too. All right. So now we have our stockinette applied, we have our cast padding applied, and we're ready to apply the 2-inch cast tape. All right, so we're gonna use some lukewarm water to hydrate our cast tape. Squeeze out the excess water, and now we're ready to apply the fiberglass. So what I typically like to do with this is start our fiberglass as proximal as you want it to extend. We don't want to extend this too far proximal because when the patient dorsiflexes their foot, the fiberglass is then going to impinge onto the skin on the front of their ankle, causing some skin irritation. So I'll typically end my cast proximally at this level, and we're going to go 2 or 3 layers, working our way distally. And at this point, now we're going to turn our fiberglass about 90 degrees and extend it around the posterior aspect of the heel. Okay, we're going to use our thumb to change the angle a couple times. And again, I'm going to overlap by about 50% as I am working my fiberglass posteriorly around the back of the heel and then eventually underneath the foot. And then we'll continue to wrap circumferentially around the forefoot as such. And most people can get away with just 2 layers of this 2-inch fiberglass. So now that we have our first layer applied, we're going to pull the stockinette proximally as we would for a short leg cast. And again, we want to make sure that there's enough room along the forefoot. So I always will either use tongue depressors or my thumbs to just create enough room in the forefoot so you're not impinging, especially on the lateral part of the patient's foot. And then we're going to pull the proximal part of your cast distally, again, so that this cast is going to end below the ankle. So once we have this part of your cast applied, we're going to add our second layer of cast tape. So like we did for the first layer, we'll submerge it in some lukewarm water. Again, wring out the excess water, and then we want to start rolling before this fiberglass starts setting. So again, start your cast as proximal as it's going to go so that we don't end up going too far proximal and again impinging on the patient's skin in the front of the ankle. So again, we're going to go 2 or 3 wraps around the forefoot, and then once you reach the end of the forefoot, again, we're going to turn 90 degrees, going behind the ankle, turning 90 degrees, and again, overlapping about 50% as we continue to work our way underneath the foot, and again, ending towards the forefoot. And again, this is a good cast for forefoot surgery, forefoot trauma. And then this cast, after it's set, can go right into a surgical shoe, and it can become a walking cast. It can be a non-weight bearing cast, really whatever your preference is for that particular patient. So if it is a weight bearing cast, I tend to kind of massage, rub the fiberglass, not only to help it set, but also to build a little bit of an arch support into the cast itself so it's more comfortable for your patient. And once the cast is set and you have enough room and it's comfortable for the patient, this is the application of a slipper cast.